Malone. All right.
Yeah, good luck, man. Thank you.
Hey,
Enjoy.
we're having a blast here. We're enjoying it, like we were just saying with Rami. We're just gonna let it flow. I set the intention. Well, actually, it's a great place to start. Let me first. I want to share my screen while recording.
You should
This
be able
time,
to.
yeah, we're gonna be good here.
Oh yeah.
Sweet. So going into my notes, figured everybody we can just look at the notes as I'm reading them too this time. I made them a little bit more structured. Sometimes I throw this all in and it's just a huge mess, but I get it. So I can kind of play around with it. This time it's like, let's make it a little more concretized. So, hey, everybody, I'm Joseph Robert Malone. Welcome to the Alchemical Structure. Alchemy has more structure than this, but this is just one of the top ones, one of the ones that you can really sink your teeth into. Negredo-Albedo, and Rubedo. So first and foremost, love to start with reservations. What came up for me before I even stepped into this call? One was the order. One was that egoic order of, oh, I got to get this right. I got to make sure we have the notes and all this stuff. And I did it this time, but it was one of those I didn't need to, didn't have to. I was also looking back on my last call and said, well, that one went really well. I thought that one went really well. So what if this one doesn't? One that I wasn't as vulnerable last time on that I'll be vulnerable this time is, what if people aren't getting it and start to like try to get on you and start to question what you're saying and start to like make a bunch of shit out of it? Well, those are just the reservations, guys. They're just what's coming up from my egoic perspective. And what we do with those is we acknowledge them and we observe them, because most of the time, if you just acknowledge and observe your ego and you just say, hey, look, I hear you, it is heard, and that fire is allowed to be put out now. Because your mind can't tell the difference between imagination and the real life. So if you just acknowledge that this crazy shit that's not going to probably happen could happen, you're able to thwart it before it's even happened. And one great way to do that is with my intention. So before I came in here, I set the intention to have a really amazing, great, life optimizing, life giving, life enhancing, life changing kind of call and event that really sets the tone for Crusadia and can help concretize these really amazing aspects that are always going on in us that we just might not be aware of. So these are my intentions. So this event, we're going to be covering basically what I've already been pointing at in the last event and in the first fire pit, which was ego integration. But just wanted to discuss it in more alchemical terms and just see it from this different angle, this different perspective, and one that's really near and dear to my heart. Because for me, I see alchemy everywhere now. It's this never-ending cycle that's always going through us. And I said it in here, important to note that this is a cycle and a process that's just never ending, as seen by this lovely little symbol, the Ouroboros, which is the snake eating its own tail. So as we ascend into higher structures, we're going to see this process of Negredo-Albedo-Rubedo keep playing out. It's not like you finish the process and go, all right, I'm done. No, you keep doing it over and over and over again. So alchemy has been throughout the years always been perceived as turning lead into gold or other metals into gold. And the average typical mind just says, well, that's not real because no one can turn lead into gold. Can they? Possibly. That's not what we're here to do, though, because I love it as the beautiful spiritual metaphor of transformation. So you have two orientations in life. You have the ego and the soul. And these both are playing out in you all the time. You have your egoic side, which is we established last week, which is the earthly body. You can't get rid of it unless you want to die, right? It's your mental, physical, emotional, etherical state. So if you want to get rid of that, cool, but you're going to die. And then you have your soul, which is connected to all time and space, all knowing. It's limitless. So you have these two orientations. And what alchemy is really about, to me at least, and where I've learned it from, is revealing these two modes of awareness that are available to you so you can be empowered to exit the limited egoic perception and step into your infinite super conscious intuition. Now, you can choose your ego. It's not like you can't. It's like it's really giving you the ability to choose either one. But as powerful creators, We want to choose the higher. We want to choose the soul purpose. We want to stay in that as much as we can. And then when we step out of that and into the ego, we can utilize that as well. And as you'll see from Negredo. So just a little definition here. Putrefaction. This is the first stage of alchemy. It's breaking down the Negredo, the fixed within us, to the point where it's no longer immutable and concrete, so that we can see through to the albedo, as we're going to see is that intuition part of us. So once we've cleared our identity, we rise up into the albedo, where we are in our soul truth, our dreams, and our intuition. So a lot of people live life through their identity, right? I am this, I am that, I have this job, I'm from this family, I, me. This is just identity. It's just your fixed nature. When you can step out of that and into the limitlessness of this vast universe and beyond, you can start to really gain a different perspective in this reality and create beautiful things that you never thought possible. So as we step in here, we have Negredo. So this would be, your ego is one of the best ways to see this. But some other definitions and some aspects that come out is the color black. It's represented by black in alchemy. The planet Saturn, it's the fixed masculine. As you're going to see, Rubedo brings masculine back, but it's the fixed masculine, the fixed masculine, the rational mind, egoic structure, and your identity. Also can be associated with Saturn return. It's the blackening stage necessary in this whole process, because it's confronting your shadow and using that to step into the albedo, the rubedo, and just keep the cycle moving forward. So alchemists would break down this metal, such as lead, to be transmuted into gold. And for our sake and for what we're looking for, unless we got some powerful, real lead to gold alchemists in Crusadia, perhaps, we're talking about inner alchemy. So it's the ego. And we got to love this aspect. It's a huge part of creating. It's, something I was looking back in my notes on. It was like, oh yeah, that's so true. Alchemists don't just look to create gold. They look for the lead to create the gold. That's what they're looking for. So we got to look for the lead in our lives. We have to look for the lead in the life around us and go, let's turn that into gold. What can we do with this? What can we do with this? We become powerful lead sniffer finders. And it's not just about like, oh, I love the lead for the sake of the lead. We want to create the gold, but we have to have the lead first. So it's this huge part of creating. Avoiding this is really going to avoid that end result. So and like I said, it's your earthly vehicle, but it's not the journey. The journey is this Negredo to Albedo to Rubedo, if you're really living it. We just had a great fire pit discussing how most of reality is just sitting in Negredo all the time, and that's only place that they live. They think that's the only thing available to them. It's been taught through school. It's been taught through parenting. It's been taught through life experiences that their ego gave them, or at least the ego saw and made beliefs on. That's why being aware of your limiting beliefs is huge. So stepping into our unconscious and shadow parts of ourselves, and into these parts of ourselves, we can deny this a lot in self, others, and world. It's this aspect of us that we just want to play small in. So when we can step into the alchemical process, it just feels crazy. It feels depressing. It feels painful, but it's necessary. These are that tension that we can feel that can really step us out of this Negredo and into the next steps. And then I was listening to a lovely little video on YouTube, and they made a great point. A seed must decay in the darkness of the earth to sprout into new life. So we really embrace this part of ourselves and integrate it in the wholeness. Because when we do this properly, we're given the opportunity to choose higher. Because if you don't embrace this and integrate this, you will just keep flowing back into your egoic nature, into the Negredo. You won't be able to step out and ascend. Because what Negredo can really do is reinforce the illusions that we're already living in. If you have a belief, it's going to be reflected back to you, which reinforces the belief. And this way, we're just kind of willingly giving away our power if we're not checking in. And basically, that rational mind of the ego wants to disregard everything that is outside Negredo. It wants to keep you there because it figures this is the best place for you to stay safe. It's why intuition just doesn't flow naturally within humans. It can feel very clunky. It's never going to feel like a way where it's like, oh, I'm always feeling or flowing in natural rhythm with intuition. You're always going to have the ego butting heads with it, you know? So to stay awake, we got to keep checking it. We got to keep checking in, especially as we step into higher structures in this reality, because as the alchemists say, rust never sleeps. And I like this analogy of a car. Like we aren't that much different from a car when it comes to rust. If you don't keep checking in on your car or your boat or something that can rust up, it's going to rust up. You got to keep cleaning it out. The same goes for our consciousness. So I had a couple of things from my notes that I took from the course from the company's Natural Success. I just wanted to read these off. So passion is always overshadowed by the egoic agenda. Creative nature is always manifesting our highest good, but the ego doesn't trust creative spirit. Ego believes there are conditions within you, others in the world, that preclude you from naturally having what you love. So egos will throw up smoke screens of thoughts and feelings that create a reality consistent with your unconscious beliefs, which is just, I mean, there it is, guys. It's always going to keep doing this if we don't allow ourselves to step into it, acknowledge it, and bring it up, bring it down from the tallest building, right? Like ego always just wants to jump off and be like, like we can't do this. Well, look, we can do whatever we want because we're divine spirit having a human experience. Both are present, but we get to choose. So that's Negredo. I guess before we go on, anybody have anything they want to share? Anything coming up for anybody? You can just speak out anything that's coming up. If not, we'll move on.
Nothing crazy. I just really like that idea of still having to look for the lead before you can try and create gold. I feel like that's kind of in line with that idea, like Rami mentioned in his previous video, of like there's no point in putting paint over a rundown house. Like you need to find those, like you can't just paint over what's not working, what's broken, I guess. I like that idea.
Yeah, beautiful analogy. Yeah. It's you got to be able, because you could keep painting over the shit, but it's still just going to be shit. It's being able to really step in and be vulnerable with yourself and acknowledge that dark side in you, because a lot of people want to deny that. You know, it's like it doesn't exist. That's not allowed to exist for me to have what I want. These conditions are not true. They're just tendencies and egoic strategies to keep us playing small. So yeah, great share, Sharam. Thank you very much, and great seeing you.
Yeah, of course. It's not about band-aid solutions, about transmutation.
Yeah, yes. It's about really surrendering and being in it. You know, we're not about just like getting small results, or as you said, a band-aid result. You know, we're really looking to transmute and step out of our egoic agendas and out of the Negredo, really, and into these next few that we're going to step into, the Albedo and Rubedo. And then once again, having to go back into it and then recycle back as we go into higher structures.
Hey, Joe, can you go back to the note screen that you were sharing? I just want to kind of read over that one more time before we move on, please.
I would love to. I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of great stuff in this. So passion is always overshadowed by egoic agenda. Creative nature is always manifesting for our highest good. So we have a creative nature and a true creative spirit that is all-knowing and tapped into all time and space. But the ego does not trust this. It does not trust this part of ourselves. It believes that there are conditions within you, others, and the world that preclude you from naturally having what you love. So it's going to throw up this smoke screen of thoughts and feelings that are coming up with you all the time that create a reality consistent with your unconscious beliefs. And this is something I had touched upon a lot in the first fire pit I did, called ego integration. So it didn't get recorded, but we'll do it again eventually when I feel it's true. But one thing I really stress is that basically all of your thoughts and feelings are coming from your egoic agenda, which makes people go, it gets people in their shit, really, because they feel unvalidated. They go, you mean all of my thoughts and feelings are from ego? Yes. So then what's the point of having thoughts and feelings? They are the tip of the iceberg to your limiting beliefs. They're actually really beautiful and really great to understand when you know where they're coming from, because you can utilize them and go, that is what my ego and the messages from my egoic agenda are telling me. Now I can use that to step out of it and create what I would love to create, because all they're doing is reflecting back your belief system, what you believe is necessary and the conditions you believe you need to have what you want. It's not true, but they're still really useful for just stepping out of them and understanding what the discrepancy is between your ego and that limited part of you and the higher part of you, which is that limitless, creative spirit. So yeah, thanks, Priya. I'm glad we got to establish that and concretize that a little deeper. All right, let's move on to the next part, shall we? We'll get out of the ego a little bit and step into albedo. So let's see here. So I didn't write as much for this because we really did cover a lot of this last week, and it's still one that we'll cover more as we go forward here. But albedo is tapping into that true creative spirit. It's that soul part of us, and it really speaks to us through intuition. So you got albedo. It's seen as white, Venus, the feminine side of creating. Soul, it's volatile. It's part of dreams and intuition. It's the whitening stage of the alchemical structure, bringing clarity, truth, love, and wisdom to the forefront of one's consciousness, which is pointing to intuition. It's a stage of illumination and light shining through. So you'll have the cracks of Negredo coming through, and when you're really allowing those cracks to be there and acknowledging them, now the light can shine through for you to start to pull from the intuition, that limitless part of us. It represents clarity, self-awareness, and ultimately the intuition that is guiding us to our true nature and purpose. So if Negredo is separation, then albedo is what is connecting us to all, right? All being through all time and space, to God, to source, to that all sense, the capital A-L-L. So what happens is that your limiting beliefs and your old programming begin to be transmitted and transmuted into something more powerful. In creating, it's about the new. Creativity itself can be seen as making loose connections not yet made in this reality. So what albedo is really doing is taking us from that limited ego to the limitless intuition. And there was a lot of great examples that we used last week. I really recommend going back and watching it. It's an hour and a half, but it's worth it. There was a lot of great stuff that I tied deep more into albedo, into intuition. But one thing that really is true for me to share at this moment in time, it's surrender. You surrender to your intuition. It's not something that you just kind of like mosey on in and do whatever you feel like. It's something that you really, really live from. It's something that you allow to flow through you. And you will find, and as Rami and I pointed out, profusely, it's not comfortable living from this space. It's not all sunshine and roses. It's this aspect of us that is full of going through the thorny bush path and going like one of my favorite examples of intuition is it tells you to go for the hike. Like you tap in and go, what should I do? It tells you to go on a hike, and then you fall off a cliff and break like every bone in your lower body. And you're like, why the heck did I do that? But then you followed through though, and you meet the person you were supposed to meet in the hospital, like your soulmate or that person you're going to make the $100 million company with. You don't ask questions with intuition. You just go with what you get. When you start to ask questions, guess what? The ego has now stepped in. Your rational mind has stepped in, and you're starting to step out of it, because albedo is very fleeting. It's just, it comes when it comes and you grab it. Now, there are ways to tap into it more, but you still have to grab it nonetheless. So it's this middle stage too, by the way. This isn't everything. And we'll get to that right now, actually. We can step right into Rubedo here. So Rubedo, really, what you really want to capture from this is inspired action. That's a really big part of this. So you have Rubedo, which is the red. It's Mars, it's passion, it's action aspect of masculine and concrete. So you have the fixed aspect of masculine in Negredo, the separation part, which comes from childhood, really. And then you have the feminine aspect of creating the albedo, and then it circles back to being the masculine action aspect. So it's the reddening stage, It's the attainment of the philosopher's stone as seen in alchemy. So I see the philosopher's stone as, spiritually speaking, attaining one with the whole. It's this union of opposites. You're taking the consciousness and the unconsciousness and culminating it into spiritual wholeness. It's really that point of like the return of the king, right? It's the hero's journey. It's seen in so many different stories. The hero's journey being Joseph Campbell's, right? You start as the divine spirit, you come down to earth. Now you become separate, become wounded. You have to go through crap, and then you meet your wise man. That's the albedo process. And then you face the dragon, and you pacify that dragon. Now you've reached your goal to share with all of humanity. And that cycle just starts over and over and over again. So the masculine aspect of action, right? So it concretizes what we get in the albedo stage. So the albedo will just evaporate back into Negredo if not concretized and acted upon. And this is a part that really is near and dear to me, because this is what I was not getting for years. I get so much albedo. I'm very much like tied to this feminine aspect where I just receive, I receive, I receive. And I just wasn't doing anything with it. And it would just flutter away. Now, I still accumulated a lot of stuff, a lot of wisdom and whatnot, but I just wasn't taking the proper action to really get results and to learn and to grow and to step into the next Negredo-Albedo-Rubedo phase and that kind of stuff and the higher structures, right? So the gold in the lead to gold is your dream being acted upon. It's huge, guys. This is really that big aspect and what I wanted to share of like most of all within this whole presentation is being able to take inspired action. So transmutation of challenges in life into opportunities for growth and ascension through inspired action. Yeah, just another aspect of what I'm saying. So like I said, I accumulated this wisdom for years and my results sucked. And I wondered why. It's like, well, you're not taking the inspired action. And it doesn't have to be this huge thing. It's Rami's boat example. Like all I did was send him an audio message and it just, started turning the wheels. And that resonated with him. And now I'm getting to facilitate this stuff and share this stuff. It was true for both of us and true for Crusadia to get this. And it all started with one little audio message, right? In fact, it really started with just one Instagram message that he responded to. And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. He's got so many followers and he responded. That doesn't happen often. So I talk about organic momentum, but I'm going to bring that up a little bit later in these examples. So bottom line here, Negredo, that's your current reality. That's where you currently are in relation to what you want. This is for creating purposes, by the way. Albedo is the vision you receive and the vision, your end result that you would love to create. And Rubedo is the choice that you make and take action upon. If you can really concretize that and utilize that, you're going to be able to create a ton of stuff in this reality. So you have your current, and they're all necessary. It's like in football, people will be like, you have your offense, your defense, and special teams. And people forget special teams if they aren't aware of it enough. That's like your Negredo. They both, and all three of them, are all phases of the game, right? You need all three of them to be able to keep creating at a high level. So a couple examples in my life. The first one is this thing that happened last week, because I'm somebody who is still learning, right? I'm not perfect. I'm still gaining more awareness as I step into this more and more and apply it. So we've had a really, really shitty time at my job. The owner of the company is sending us multiple extra trucks, and it's just bleeding out everywhere onto the sales floor. And I am literally the only person sorting these pallets. We just don't have enough people. So I am exerting way too much energy to get done what needs to get done. And my manager has been pretty darn good with it. He has not bothered me too much, right? He's given me a lot of leeway when he's very much like, we got to follow it by the book and we have to do what the owner of the company wants. And I'm like, dude, it's your store, but whatever. And then last week, he finally just broke through and decided to give me a hard time about something that didn't matter at all. So I had pulled in the last truck we were going to have until I had to go for vacation. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Joe, you fucking did it. You did great. This is awesome. Like, I didn't have to bring out any to the floor. I was able to get them in a really good position. And I had put 2 pallets, just 2, in a spot that are typically designated for like bulk pallets, like a bullet, like paper products or something. And he comes over with a very like weird look in his eye, an accusatory tone. He's like, "These can't go here." And I'm like, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't even have to put any on the floor. It's really not a big deal. And it just started, his ego just started to unravel everywhere. I'm like, how I'm a problem and how I don't cycle the U-boats that you put the freight on enough. So we're not getting to this older stuff. And I'm like, dude, it's the same liquid chemicals. It's not like it's like a big problem. It's like, it's the same stuff as on the pallets that I just brought in. Like they both expire in the same, like, 2027, but I digress. Basically, his shit came out and I was just observing it. And I just said, okay, yeah, boss, that's fine. But in my head, my ego was going nuts. It's like, this guy's a fucking idiot. What is he talking about? And all the while, I kept trying to muzzle my ego without even knowing it. I found that I've really been really good at letting my ego come out and share what it wants to share, except in these moments where like real tension comes through. And then I try to muzzle the ego back and put like a, you know, like my example is like a dog on a leash. I keep pulling back. And what I found through this process was that I wasn't like really observing my Negredo enough. I wasn't allowing my ego to express. So I wanted to share what I wrote down that day. So this is what I wrote down. It's true for the ego to come out when the aspect of our ego is not integrated into wholeness, so we can observe this blind spot. Love, acknowledge, and integrate this aspect of our ego into wholeness. In fact, there's nothing wrong with ego coming out in any way. It's an opportunity to see where ego is still operating and choose the higher vibration. It is not the time to push ego away when we are charged up. It's time to listen and observe. So conflict really is the best tool for self-awareness in this way. And I have a really great exercise that I'm going to share in the coming weeks or so. I'll have a volunteer. I'm really excited for it. But you can take account on what you're creating and where ego and lower vibration is running your life. So express ego in healthy ways. And I thought I was, but guess what I learned? That's just the ego doing it again. It's trying to tell me, yep, you got it. But I could just see my ego, even in that moment, just like this cold, wet dog that just wanted to be let inside, and I wasn't letting the dog inside. So I just acknowledged that, and I actually started to tear up a little bit when I acknowledged what was really going on, because I just acknowledged to myself, it's not fun to be told you're doing wrong and getting your face kicked in when you're doing your best and actually doing way better than what everyone else is noticing, especially someone in their ego. So I just wanted to share that story because it really highlights that Negredo is always going through us, right? And it's really about just keep stepping back in and being aware. So second one, well, do I want to do loss of sister? No, let's do this 100-pound weight loss. So I've lost 100 pounds twice. And this is just an example of both the whole entire process playing through, right? It's understanding where my current reality was, which is I was 100 pounds overweight. And I'll say we'll use the second time as my example. And then because I really acknowledged it and it was really true for me to start losing at the time I did, I started to receive downloads in just aspects of things I wouldn't have normally taken action on. And then I took action on them. Like a big one was incremental steps. Like if I had never lost 100 pounds in my life and I tried to do it in the 5-month period I did, I would have given up. I would have just quit. I wouldn't have gotten the results I wanted. But I just had this awareness and this intuition to say, no, it's not true for you to start like lifting 5 to 7 days a week. You're going to get injured. You're already working a physically laborious job. Just go for walks. Change the diet. You'll be good there. And I lost like 30 pounds in a month. And I just kept building on that and building on that and taking action and taking action. And then before I knew it, in 5 months, it was done. I had done what I wanted to do. Now, did I have to go back and forth and oscillate? Sure, but I still got the end result I wanted. And that's really what it's all about, guys. It's getting the end result you want. And then this last one here, I made that lovely post that just was basically truth running through me. It's that post about my sister. And it's just, that is the alchemical process at the highest levels, right? Losing somebody that you truly love, especially in a surprising, like out of nowhere kind of way, that's going to bring a lot of lead. And I'm really grateful and fortunate for the structures in my consciousness that guided me through that, because I could have been a very downward spiral. So it's one of those where I'm really grateful for what I learned and what was flowing through me already, this alchemical understanding, because it allowed me to let that lead to sit there and shine through to the albedo and the rubedo of this experience. Because now it's like, what's the action to take? You know, the action to take is to share the story with others and to serve others in going through that themselves, because it's not easy, I can tell you that much, but it's certainly empowering if you allow it to be. It doesn't have to be a nightmare, like I said in that post. It can be this very alchemical experience where your loved ones really want you to grow. They want you to change. They want you to step into higher structures of consciousness and higher structures in your life, to step out of the crap you were already dealing with, because they just want you to thrive, your loved ones, no matter what, especially, and all the people that truly love you, right? They want you to thrive. If people don't want you to thrive, get them out of your life. They're not true for you. So yeah, that's, those are my examples. And then a little Rumi quote here. Everything in the universe is within you. Ask all from yourself. So that's it, guys. Or at least there's obviously more that we could touch upon, but that was just what I wanted to cover today. Very much an empowering aspect of reality, if you allow it to be, this alchemical structure. And we must allow all three of them to play through us like an instrument. And when we do that, we start to really surrender and allow these alchemical processes to flow through us and create beautiful, beautiful outcomes in our reality. So yeah, thanks everybody. Trying to unshare the screen. There we go. So yeah, and we're going to open the floor here. Shares, Q&As. You guys have stories about your own alchemical processes. Whatever comes up for you to share is always true to share.
I'm not gonna hog anything. I just wanted to say I really appreciate always the thought, the energy, and the care you bring to this. It's refreshing, man, and so unique. Like objectively, like you're talking about someone walking his path, that one of one. It's an absolute treat just to get to watch. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, and and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to live it and walk it. Because, like I told you in one of those DMs, we're just getting started. We're just getting started. Like, I'm just at the beginning of this process, baby.
That's the part for me that is so exciting because you see it. Like when you see it's like just the beginning, you're like, holy cow, I'm going to be able to appreciate this entire process while it happens. That's a treat. That does not come around ever, honestly. And it only comes when you're just walking the path correctly.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, because that's what I love about this process, the alchemical process, is it really makes you present and aware, and to be self-aware and to allow that to grow more and more. It's like it's like a lot of, for plenty of people, they'll use this process and get results they want, even maybe the best results they thought they could get, and now it's over. Now they just forget. And that's when shit starts to hit the fan again. So it's just a very humbling experience in that, where you just keep stepping back in, because like I said, Rust never sleeps. That Negredo will be very tricky and very sneaky. It'll come when you're not expecting it. And you'll go, why did my results get off track so fast? You know exactly why now, guys. You know why. It's because it's just going to keep pulling you back in if you allow it to. So you just keep playing with it, learning about it, growing with it.
Amen. All right, boys, listen, get your cameras on. Even Shaq has his camera on. Look at him, bro. This guy's got a mustache going, ready to rock and roll. He wants you to look at the mustache. Get your cameras on. Let's show some, yeah. Let's give him his flowers, man.
Hey man, look at all those pretty faces, bro. Look at all those pretty faces.
Look at that.
That's what we love.
Hey Joe, you mentioned I guess I kind of caught on at the very end. The ego's final trap is making action grandiose, making action seem like a big thing. And it can be, but honestly, if we're thinking about this, the ego wants action to be like a big deal, when in reality it's just action.
It's ego will do as much as it can to make it seem so daunting and impossible that you're not going to be able to do it. But even those things that are grand, because it's like you can still do grandiose things. It's not like it can't be, right? You could take that huge leap, and that could be very true for you. But it's just going to come with so many thoughts and feelings and that like pain through your heart, like, I can't do it. But you can absolutely do whatever is true for you, for real. There's no doubt. Whatever is true for you is true for you. Hey, Shane.
Hey, brother, I was gonna say you can.
I've been listening, kind of on and off. Just I've been at work, so it's in bad connectivity over here. I'm gonna have to mostly catch the rebroadcast. But what I did here was very very inspiring and to my mind very truthful.
I couldn't catch all of that, Shane, but I took it as a compliment. Yeah, Shane, you were just breaking up a little bit there. I couldn't capture what you were really conveying. Yeah, Shane, you figure out your mic situation. We'll let someone else share first. So anyone else, what you got for me? Or just for the group?
Okay. Or am I unplugged? Oh, I know.
What's it going on?
Wait, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, sweet. I was trying to figure out what happened. Zoom does this thing where it just dashes my microphone volume to like the smallest increment when I use my wide earphone. So I was there like, wait, what's going on? But otherwise, one of the things that I'm always a big proponent of, and I love the way you explain things. I personally don't think there's such a thing as dumb questions. So I'm going to go ahead and ask a pretty dumb question because I think a lot of the times we may not ask questions because we're too scared to face the answers. And one of the questions I have is, what would you say, or how would you define humility in terms of defying the ego and actually beating ego in conversations with other people? Because sometimes, and I had this conversation with a mentor of mine earlier today, but you're in conversations with people and you have to meet them at the level that they are versus at the level which you think they are at, or at the level that you want them to be. Because sometimes we can project a little bit of frustration, sometimes we can project a little bit of envy or anger towards somebody who may not be catching up to things as quickly as we want to. So I'm just a little bit curious as to how you would describe humility in that context.
Yeah, great question, Jack. First thing I'll say is I agree, there are no dumb questions. In fact, a lot of people think they're dumb questions. It's just the ego stepping in. And it's typically a very true question to ask, because it might just change someone's whole perspective on the whole presentation. And if you don't ask it, it doesn't happen. So thank you for asking. My answer and take on it would be this. It's a premise, but it's one of those, it's very, very true for me. Everybody has a heart. Everybody has dreams. Everybody is coming through that, but they just might not be showing that. So if you can look at somebody, and anybody, even if it's the most annoying person you know in your life, and go, okay, this person has a heart. This person has dreams. This person can absolutely change the world if they really have that opportunity to do so. It's amazing what your focus and your perspective does and changes. It goes from one of being caught up in their shit, in their Negredo, which really just opens up your Negredo and your ego, and really just kind of starts this negative, I wouldn't say negative really, more of this dysfunctional feedback loop. And you can start to pry them open. It's like once you change that frequency in yourself, that frequency can now be expressed out to the other person. So don't get it twisted. There's plenty of people in my life still that get me straight in my ego real quick, but I thank them profusely, at least that right now within me, to go, hey, you're showing me stuff that I'm still integrating. So it's this lovely dance of reality where They might be showing you crap and you're coming out with your crap out of it, but it's giving you this another opportunity to transcend your ego and step into the albedo, the rubedo in this process. So I would say as much as you can, doesn't have to be all the time. Like you'll get better and better with it. It's like a muscle, but step into with an open heart. A lot of people don't because they figure their heart's going to get wounded. They're going to get trampled. A lot of people protect their heart, even with like a huge castle, right? They're going to protect it with like the Great Wall of China is protecting my heart. You're not allowed in. I've been there before. And it's made me very cold at times. It's made me very much like I'm just not even going to respond to people or even be engaged in this conversation. Or this whole like experience that I'm going through. But the more and more I can step into that perceived heart, it just opens up. It can open up yourself as well as others. So that person that might be coming at you with annoyance or coming at you with stuff that they just don't get it and they're just kind of lost in it. The more and more you work with them with an open heart, the more and more they're going to open and they're going to start to really get it. And I'll actually share this story really quick. There's this young lady at my work, and she's gone through a lot of trauma. She just talks of stuff that nobody could ever care about. And whenever she talks, it always goes back to her traumas. Oh, I went through this problem. Oh, and I passed out the other day. And one day, I just was about to eat my lunch. I saw her walking up, and I went, oh, shit. I don't want to deal with this right now. Like, I just want to eat my lunch. And that got me into my observation where I'm like, oh, this is, what I'm getting is to share her truth with her and to give her some information she might not know because it will serve her. So I sat down. She had just passed out the day before. So I asked her that, like, how did that go? So she just went into her dysfunction. And I said, you know what I get on you? You're not living your true nature and purpose because you're really just like this intuitive fucking psychic witch that can absolutely serve humanity if you just used it properly. And she was still going off on her stuff. And I went, no. Source is flowing through me. You need to listen right now. And she just went cold. And she listened. And after that, every single thing that came out of her mouth was in alignment with what I was talking about. She finally started to crack it open and started to listen and really observe her own stuff. And I don't know if she's changed. Like she could easily just like phone right back. I haven't really talked to her since. But it's one of those where I was able to see like, yes, like this does work when you really get to people and you speak truth to them. If you just keep playing their game, they'll just keep playing the game. So that's what I wanted to share, Shaq.
I guess a follow-up to that, because I'll share a bit of a personal story. I feel like I'm in a section of my life where I'm really, really close to achieving the things that I've always wanted to. Like I'm telling you, I've said this and I'll say it again, but I'm like this far away. And I know the only limitations I'm facing are within myself. It's the little voice in the back of your head that goes, I'm not good enough.
Yes.
It's the little bit of the ego that comes up saying, I can do more than I think that I can set out to achieve. Like, for example, yesterday, I've had this beast that I've been dealing with in our conversion mechanism in business. So pretty much just turning eyeballs into money. And yesterday I set out with this massive goal before I went to sleep. I was like, cool, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I set off this massive to-do list with myself. I've been sitting at my laptop since 10 a.m. It's almost 11 p.m. right now. Haven't completed the to-do list. And I just feel like this inner pressure from my ego that's like you're not good enough. You're not doing enough right now. You're not working effectively. You're not deserving of this. And I guess the perspective that I sort of just want to run across you slash bounce thoughts off of you with is almost the idea of surrendering to the process. Because I think my personal issues, I tend to get a little bit too involved in the weeds of things and involved in the roots of things. And I feel like this final push that I have to make is almost overcoming my own ego and almost overcoming this part of myself that's forcing these negative truths onto me, like that you're not good enough, you're not deserving, you're not doing enough. And I just really like to bounce that off of you and hear a little bit of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, what I'm getting is yes, that's what it is. It's your ego is coming in at different levels too, what I'd say. Because one thing that I've found to be really useful is there's nothing to do, but there's always action to take, which means you do what's true for you. You step into truth, right? So it's possible that this whole freaking list that you made, it's all from a process. It's all from the how, because the how isn't going to get you there. It's really about stepping into the end result and uh, allowing your intuitive guidance system to really guide you through that, which is uncomfortable and it doesn't make sense a lot of the time. It's like walking a tightrope. And it reminds me actually of your story because you've already done this before, Shaq. That's the thing. Like you say, I'm really close. You've already done it, right? You've already done it plenty of times, actually. What really is coming up is that you just haven't been able to break through to that next higher level, right? It's like you'll keep climbing higher structures, but you've already climbed in the high structures. You've already actually shown it to yourself. So what that really highlights is that your ego is strong. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, but it actually highlights a very powerful creator. Every powerful creator has a high ego because we always just consider it as like the asshole, it's like that person has a huge ego, but I don't. It's like, no. We all have an ego. We all have an earthly body. It's what it is. So if anyone's wondering what I'm talking about, Shaq basically put the middle finger up to schooling when he was having great grades and did his own thing. And that is always going to be true for you, right? It's going to be true for you to step out of the paradigms of the how, and you're teaching me how to do this and stepping into the structures of consciousness and creating. Because, there's a huge discrepancy or difference between structure and then how to. A how to is like, I'm like that, like a how to, if this was a how to presentation from me, it'd be here's how to do this, and here's all the steps, and you have to do it. I'm not giving you how-to steps. I'm showing you the structure of consciousness. I'm showing you the structure of the alchemical nature of this. And it's really up to you to come up with what is true for you to create from that space. So what I'd say is absolutely, you are close. And I resonate a lot with you, Shaq. There's a lot that I'd be like, yep. I have that same kind of sentiment. And what happens is for me, the ego comes in right at the end. And it jerks me right out. It's like I'll have it all going good, and then whoop, it takes me right out. So, what is the real truth in I guess without lack of better term, how to on this? It's neutralizing the ego and listening to the ego. You acknowledge and you allow yourself to be like, well, maybe I am not good enough for that thing you told me. Maybe I am not worthy of this that you told me. But the odds are it's not true, right? It's just the fire that you got to put out for the ego because it's the ego looking around the desert going, there's going to be a cliff. Yeah. Because the truth is, Shaq, you're obviously good enough. You're obviously worthy. Why? You're divine spirit. You're divine spirit having a human existence. Yes, there's limitations in that, but worth and value and these things, they aren't a part of it. That's just the story we tell ourselves. So it's one of those, if I were you, I'd just keep tapping into what's true. Because it's possible that whole list wasn't even true to do. And that was actually your intuitive self guiding you there. But the ego wants to come in and go, see, like I told you you weren't good enough. I didn't want to do it. But look, I'm not you. I don't know what was on that list. It's one of those where it's really you tapping into your own truth and seeing what's there. And this was from the Life Guided by Intuition. What's obvious? Like what's obvious? What obvious action step is it to take? Like just one of those steps on that list, right? And you just do one, and you just do one, and you just do one, because it can be very convoluted if you have like 10 different things you're thinking about. And it gives the ego a lot of firepower to start to come in and try to operate and take over the control of the wheel. When you really go from this intuitive, like it's not even a one step, it's almost like closing your eyes and taking one step at a time. When you do that, it takes the ego out of it. It takes the ego and you go, now I'm being guided. Now I'm actually allowing my genius to shine and take that step. Just in the example I used for obviousness in the other event was Steve Jobs just saw it was obvious that we needed a device that had a phone, internet, and music on it all in one, in a very seamless, simple, elegant design. We didn't need something that was super challenging and that nobody could figure out. He said, nope, it's obvious that we need a design that like a little grandma or a little kid could figure out. Now, has it kind of like derailed society a little bit? Sure. But it's still one of the most genius inventions ever created. And when used properly, you can create so much. We wouldn't be having this conversation without the iPhone and the iPad and all that kind of
I agree. A quick thought that I want to put on that, and I promise I'll stop hogging the floor in just a second. I'm just really enjoying the experience of being a student.
Yes.
Absolutely love doing stuff like this. But I think something that you really rung out to me that you said was follow the intuition of what you need to do. Because I think for a while I really struggled with prioritizing and actually moving towards what I need to do because I was almost trying to drive with the handbrake on. I was
Yeah.
literally trying to push my way through and force my way through, which was pretty much the month of July for me. Almost just trying to force my way through roadblocks rather than actually almost passing through them, if you get what I'm saying. So just trying to brute force it, which showed me that there's some things that you just can't brute force. Like you actually have to take them with intention and you actually have to take a step back in order to speed up. And in this whole journey, I think because I'm relatively new to my spiritual journey. I started a couple months ago, likely in about like May, early June, like seriously putting intention into my spiritual journey.
Yep.
And the big thing that I've learned just over the past week, because I've done more this past week than I did in the past month, is I'm moving a lot better by setting the intention the night before, sleeping on it, waking up in the morning, first thing, open my notebook, and I just set off with what I need to do. I think the big hindering point, the big hitching point for me, because looking at what I've written, it makes sense. I can see exactly why. I don't know exactly where it came from. That's the crazy thing. I can't sit down and say, I thought about it this way and I thought about it like in a super complex manner. No, I just had a rough idea of where I wanted to go and stepped on it, iterated, moved forward. I think my sort of sticking point that I think a bunch of other guys may relate to is fighting that inner demon, like the one that's trying to
Yeah.
drag you back. The handbrake, so to say, the you're not good enough, you're not pushing yourself enough. And a very interesting thought from my reading recently in Three Magic Words by Yo Anderson was the idea of just negating negative thoughts. So almost going through your day and any negative thought that comes to mind, pay active attention to it and just let go of it.
Yes.
Almost completely ignore it because through building this, you build the habit of dispersing negative thoughts and focusing on the positives. So, how would you say that ties into almost accepting what the ego says and saying, yeah, you may be correct in this way, but actually, no, you probably not.
So what I would share with this, and it's just a slight improvement on that and a slight
Yeah.
more understanding. When you look to negate the ego and try to when you try to negate it and say, I'm going to push this away, that's giving the ego more power. It's giving the ego power. It's basically, you're not looking at the monster. Because actually what happens is if you just turn around and start naming that dragon, so to speak, a lot of it gets neutralized. So that's really the big term, is switching from negation to neutralization. Because I had shared this with Barbad. Barbad had an amazing post that served me in like serving others. He was doing what I was talking about. He went to the gym at 4:30 like he does. And he kept getting these thoughts of like, all right, you don't have to go, or like, let's quit today, let's do this. And he kept saying F you to the ego. I said, well, the ego is kind of like your 5-year-old self. It's not this part of you that you want to just say, hey, F you, I'm not listening to you today. Do you want to be the responsible adult and say, hey, stay in the freaking booster seat in the car like you're not driving? Yes. But it's basically more about neutralizing that ego. And the way you do that is by acknowledging it and going, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. It's like the more that you don't want to hear it, the more it's just giving it more energy and more of your power, because that's where your subconscious is going to flow to. It's like, he doesn't want to see that. That means that's where the real power is going to. So that's going to create more of that. So if you're able to actually turn around and like go, no, I hear you, but we're not going that way. We're going to be going the way that I choose. the ego will listen and the ego will follow suit. It's just that the ego will take every step that it can to take the wheel again. It wants to be in front. It wants to be in front because it figures that because the ego still thinks that you are a little baby. That's really how it sees you. It goes, this person can't take care of themselves. They're going to fall right off a cliff. They're going to go drive right into the traffic. They just will, like, relatively speaking. So when you're able to be like, no, like I'm 33 now. Like the ego, right? Like you're not in charge. So it's like, and it just, the reason that it throws these limiting beliefs at you is because they served you in the past. It was like one time when you were a little kid, you were in the booster seat, in the kitchen, and you wanted the baby bottle, but you couldn't reach it because you're in the chair. So you had to make some sort of belief about that so you didn't go insane, because we're a lot smarter as babies and children than people consider. And then what happens is then the mother comes and goes, oh, the baby's crying, probably wants the bottle. Here you go, hands you the bottle. You've now created a belief and your parents are following suit and you're not capable. That's literally how it happens. It's like you weren't capable of getting that bottle in this big moment of your life, getting the fucking baby.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. So you're able, so it's like those limiting beliefs just stay with you forever and they'll always be challenged and they'll always be triggered when you go for something. You can't get rid of them. They are a part of your DNA now. But because we have sovereignty and will, and we're divine spirit having a human experience, we can choose the higher. But you can't choose the higher until you've acknowledged the ego and you acknowledge that Negredo within you. You must be able to acknowledge it so you can step out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Shaq. That's beautiful.
Beautifully said.
Share that.
Final thing I want to get across. Like, I promise this is the final thing.
Yeah,
But I really fucking love
We're
this
all loving it.
conversation. One of the things that you said is that people said having a big ego is a bad thing. But I mean, you want to be successful, you want to do something with your life. Welcome to the fucking party. If you don't believe in you, who will? Like, literally, that's my response to when people say ego, this, that. Because I think so much of ego can be dispelled with characteristics where you won't come across as egotistical so long as you have the respect to be humble and you face people with humility and respect. But, dude, I absolutely love that sentiment. Like, you need the ego. It is a necessary evil, but like everything in excess, it will destroy you.
Yes. It's like, it's a funny little one is like, you face the dragon in the first movie of the trilogy, and then the second movie, it's a friend of yours, and you actually are riding that dragon, but it's just not riding you, right? It's a part of you. It's this aspect of you that is you just keep it in check, because if you don't, it's going to start deciding things for you, and it does it all the time. So you might as well keep checking in every day, or at least when it's true for you, right? So, because the next movie is going to be an even bigger dragon that needs to be integrated. That's the whole point. Is this storyline that's building, because you're the hero of your own story, and that ego is definitely this. It starts off as a villain, but it can really become a great ally when you use it properly. It doesn't have to be this big, horrible thing. But as we know, society loves to create definitions on things that they don't understand because they don't want to look at their dark side. But our dark side is where a lot of our growth and potential comes from. So we allow that all to be. That's what we do here. Crusadia, it's my passion. It's what I want to share. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what people create as they integrate theirs.
Awesome, dude. Thanks for the opportunity to be a student. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity to be the teacher. Like it's beautiful because it's true for me, but it's not something my ego was keeping me from this, right? I've done intuitive readings with people, plenty of them in my courses, and they all said the same thing. Joe, you're going to be working with young men. You're going to be working with young men to do this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, whatever. I got things to fry, like I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. But guess what? It's so true for me. And this is from one of my mentors, William Whitecott. He's like, the greatest writers, guess what they don't want to do? Write.
Right.
They don't want to write. So
Yep.
this, that's where the dragon comes, guys. You can start to really utilize that dragon in you, if you want to use that as your analogy. I love the dragon analogy, as that is where you go towards. That's where it's like, yes, like, why is the ego, I should say, why is the ego trying to point me in the other direction? I wonder why. Let me go that way and figure out, right? As much as there's been times where it feels like I'm going to die, because that's, I've seen it posed that, like, when your beliefs are challenged, it's the same feeling you get when you're getting chased by like a lion or you're about to die, or because it's just like it's a defense mechanism, because it's, as I said in the last event, your ego is a survivor. We needed it to survive in this reality. It's the mind, for example, the rational mind, very useful. It's very useful that we don't have to relearn how to drive a car over and over and over again. But I love that analogy that Shaq used for the month of July. He's having to like put the parking brake on and like kind of like going back and reverting back into learning how to drive the car again, so to speak. That's just your ego, and you can observe that and utilize it and integrate it back. It's this lovely, lovely tango of life. It doesn't, like, it gets easier, I would say, but it also it's like when you're trying to go for bigger and better goals in life. It's just gonna, the goalposts change, that sort of thing.
Very beautifully put.
All right, everybody. Anyone else got any lovely shares before we wrap this up?
Hey, Joe, can I ask a question real quick?
Yes, sir.
Maybe it's a little, I guess I'm looking for some sort of, maybe like a 7-day attack plan, or not an attack plan, but like a 7-day, or like a week. So of like, how can we go about clearing up the intuition, or making the signal of the intuition a lot clearer than the signal of the ego, if that makes sense? Like, how can we go about kind of actioning all the stuff that we've learned during this session through the next couple of days?
Hey, great question. Number one, you don't, right now, I wouldn't do it by yourself. DM me. We can do a couple sessions together. That's what I would tell you. It's one of those things where I don't think you need a coach for everything, but having a mentor in this, like such as myself, it's useful. And then it's one of those, if it's true for you, we start working together. And look, having somebody to serve you in this work, because it's like, I've said this in the fire pit today, a lot of coaches suck. Having a coach when you're going for your true nature and purpose can be very useful when you have a true one. Because what I would do, and what coaches in my line of work do, not that I'm like, hey, I'm selling myself, because my ego's like, stop selling yourself. Guess what? You asked, and I'm sharing. We hold you at the highest level, and we keep you there, and we keep showing you where the ego comes from. Because guess what? The ego is so powerful. If it really is, as you keep climbing structures, it's gonna be in your blind spots, and it will take the wheel. It will take the wheel. I have a coach. I know I need, like, I have to have one. It's true for me. It's just one of those things. So it's one of those, if it's true for you or others, just consider it. It's one of those things. But yes, and guys, for Crusadia, like, you guys come and DM me, it's like, I wouldn't call it like a 7-day action plan, but I can give you some general guidance to start off and really work with this stuff. Because it took me, I started doing this work in 2021, and it took me until about this year for it to really start to click at the clip where I would love it to. And I'm still working on it. So it does take time, but having someone to serve you with this line of work, it's a pretty damn good investment. It's like, mentors in that way are really powerful. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And I think kind of similar, I've kind of done with the whole accumulating and all this information that I've accumulated for all the lessons. And while they serve me well, I think it's time to kind of action. So I'll definitely keep an eye out, and appreciate all the information and answering the questions and such, bro.
Absolutely. And when I get on you, and I love voices. I've told this to Shaq already. I told it to Rami. You have a great voice. You speak clearly. And that, I can already tell you're powerful just because of that, right? Yes, sir. It's one of those, it's like, you got it. And the fact, hey, look, you're here. Like I said this in the first event. Look, you followed your true nature and purpose. The stuff you're getting in here, it's really beautiful stuff. And it's like, you didn't just show up here on a whim. Like, your true nature was able to thwart your ego. There's plenty of people in Crusadia that are still operating from the egoic space. I'm still operating at levels of the egoic space, and I'm still learning and growing. But I've stepped in the higher structures now where I can really observe it, and I'm really transmuting it at beautiful levels now. Even though my ego doesn't want me to see that way, it is. So I would say anybody who's here and has been in mine, or even Shaq's and Rami's, and like these really high level experiences that Crusadia is offering, like congrats, you're really showing yourself that you're powerful and that you're really ready for the next step. It really is true for me to share that. It's great to see the people here. And as I said in a couple fire pits, you see the same people so far, which is totally fine. It's absolutely fine from my vantage point, because the analogy I like to see is the Fibonacci sequence. It starts at a little blip, and then it unravels and it unfolds into this bigger thing. So what we're doing right now in Crusadia is we're starting with this small group, and we're gonna expand and expand and expand. And sooner or later, we're gonna have like 100 people in these groups, in these Zoom groups, right? It's gonna happen. We just got to keep holding the tension and keep going with it. That's my vision, right? We're gonna probably have more. I could see Crusadia having like 10,000, 20,000. They're like a lot of people. And like it's really fun to be at the ground level, isn't it, gentlemen? It's fun to see this unfolding, because like the more that we step in, the more you're just highlighting your power, not only to yourself but to the guys like Rami and guys that are high level in here. And we're just going to all have these beautiful opportunities to keep growing what we love, and that's empowering, right? For me, it is. Unless you guys are like, nah, I'm doing this for myself. Bullshit. No, bullshit. You know why you're here. I think we all know why we're actually here. Even if you haven't acknowledged it to yourself yet. It's a greater purpose. It's a higher purpose. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share there.
Dude, hell yeah.
Yes. It's
freaking yeah.
Yes, heck yeah. My vision for Crusadia, and I'm sure visions for others, is just, it's so wild, and I'm just so excited to see how it unfolds. Because I've been in plenty of other groups. They've been great groups. They've served me well. But they just didn't have exactly what I was looking for. And when I have a digital country on my hands that I can join and be a part of with a bunch of like-minded male creators, like every other intuitive group I've been into has been all older women. It's just typically what it is, which is fine. I've learned a lot. But this I'm like, yes, like this is what I would love to see reality really jump, like have more of. It's just really powerful creative men creating from the heart, right? Not because you can create, because no one ever said you can't create a ton from the ego. Nobody said you can't, right? I can see plenty of people on the world stage creating from ego, but it just makes me go, I wonder what would happen if they actually created from the heart. It's like the Grinch. It's like if they had just like the heart just got bigger and bigger and bigger. Imagine how much service could be offered to the world and others. But for now, we're serving Crusadia. I can tell you that much. That's what we're here to do. Because the more we serve Crusadia, well, but look, you fill your cup, right? So you fill your cup with this alchemical process, and then that's going to pour out into Crusadia, which pours out into the world. And it's going to be awesome, right? Hey, DeWood.
Yo, my donkey warriors, what's good? I joined late because I had a different call from a different community.
Congratulations.
But I joined now.
DeWood's the man, everybody.
Absolutely. My donkey warrior, my natural donkey warrior.
Look up Donkey. How you guys doing? He inspired me to want to do headstands, and I can't thank him enough.
Because you know what? I'll make the tutorial today. How's that sound?
Yes.
Later in the afternoon, when I have the time.
All right. I'll stick around a little bit. I'm gonna shut off this recording so it doesn't get too long for the video. Let me shut this off. But thank you everybody once again. This has been just an absolute pleasure.